Is that not a beautiful flop? It's just massive. It's just so many pages. It's just so huge. I'm just terrified. It's just huge and terrifying. Let's start facing my fears and talk about all these huge books that I'm terrified to read. Hello everyone and welcome back. I am here with a gigantic stack of gigantic books, and I'm going to talk about the books that I'm scaredest of that are on my TBR. And why am I scared of these books? Because they are monstrosities. They are very large. I tried putting them in size order, so I'm going to start with the thinnest and work my way to probably the longest book on my entire TBR. And I'm scared of all of them, but I just uploaded a video last week or the week before talking about big book fear and my tips on how to read big books, especially classics. And I need to take my own advice because there are so many books on my TBR that I am absolutely terrified of, and these are them. So I thought that I would face my own fears after filming that video, take my own advice, and hopefully after this video I will read one of these books and face my bookish fears as I told you guys to also face your bookish fears. So I need to take my own advice, pretty much. Anyway, so without further rambling, the first book on this pile is The Odyssey by Homer. I also have The Iliad. The Odyssey is a book that I have read, an epic poem that I have read selections from, both the Odyssey and the Iliad. I haven't read in their entireties, but I have read different excerpts and sections, and what I've read I have loved, and I really do enjoy Greek myth retellings, and I'm fascinated by Greek mythology. I am just kind of scared of their epic poems, which I love epic poetry. One of my favorite books, Yevgeny Onegin, is a novel in verse, a story in verse, so I do love stories in verse. But I'm just scared of them. So the Iliad is 633 pages, and the Odyssey is about 520. It's about 500 actually, so not that bad. And I think what I might do is I might listen to the audiobooks, because they have audiobooks. I forgot who they're narrated by, but I think it's a celebrity, and those are some of my favorite audiobooks because I feel like they really feel like movies and productions, and you're just listening to a performance, which I think is an incredible way to take in a story, as well as I feel like the Iliad and the Odyssey, they're so beautifully spoken, and they're beautiful not just to sight read but to listen to and to hear how the words go together. So I'm very excited to read these. I've just been scared of them for years, but I need to face my fears because I have read smaller sections of each one and I have loved what I've read, so I know I'm gonna love them. I just have to actually read them. So I might sight read an audiobook listen at some point, but those are the first two big books that I'm scared of. Okay, the next book on my stack is East of Eden by John Steinbeck. I have been talking about me wanting to read this book in about every single video on my channel recently, and I just need to shut up and read it. I keep talking about how I want to read it. I really want to read East of Eden in every single one of my videos. And I don't. I keep putting it off. I keep reading other things. I just need to do it. The more that I learn about John Steinbeck, the more that I read his shorter works, the more that I learn about him writing East of Eden, the more I want to read it. I just have a feeling that I'm going to adore it, and so it's making me kind of nervous to start it, because what if I don't adore it? But I have a feeling that I will. And I just did an author portrait of John Steinbeck, and I loved how it came out. And when I was doing the research about East of Eden, I loved what I was learning about, and so it made me want to read it even more. This book, let's see how many pages it is. It's 601. Yeah, that's quite long. But most of my favorite books, a lot of my favorite books are more than 500 pages, and they're really long, and they're worth the length. I don't want them to ever end. That's how I feel about Anna Karenina and War and Peace. Great Expectations is pretty long too. Little Women is pretty long. A lot of classics are pretty long. I could rattle off a bunch. But yeah, I feel like a lot of my favorite books are long, and like Anna Karenina, I never want it to end. Whenever I read it, I never want it to end. So I have a feeling that that's hopefully how I'll feel about East of Eden, and that's how I'll feel about all big books. A lot of you guys were talking about on my big books video that the length is what makes it so worthwhile, and it's your favorite part because it has so much depth, and you can really get attached to the story and go deep into it because you have so much time among the story. And that's exactly how I feel about all of my big favorite books. But I think it's just that surface level of before you start it is the scariest part, and then once you actually open the pages and start to read it, it's not so scary anymore. So that's what I'm hoping for East of Eden. Then the next one, Grapes of Wrath, also by John Steinbeck. A lot of these books are written by men. I apologize, I have no idea why. These are seriously the biggest books on my TBR. I looked for more books by women that were longer, and I didn't have that many, so I don't know if that's something that I need to improve upon, so I think so. I got this one from my library. Grapes of Wrath, again, same thing. I feel like I'm going to love it. I just am kind of scared of it because it is known to be one of those great American epics, and yes, same feelings that I have for East of Eden. This one is 619 pages. I'm excited. I just need to start reading it, and I need to get over my fears. Then the next one, we do have a woman, George Eliot, and I also just did an author portrait for George Eliot, and I am so happy with that one came out. Again, I loved learning about George Eliot when I was doing some research for that, and this is just a study, or a character study, a societal study about the people that live in this one town, I believe. I honestly don't know too much about it, but I don't want to know too much before going in. This is the Penguin Deluxe Edition, by the way, which is just stunning. And yeah, I know so many people love Middlemarch. I hear amazing things about it. I want to read it so badly. I'm just scared. I'm just scared. Look at these flaps, too. Oh, so beautiful. And I just want to read it from this edition because this edition is just so beautiful. This one is 780-ish. 785 pages, but it's nice and floppy. Like, look at that flop. Is that not a beautiful flop? Oh my gosh. I just cracked the spine. That's okay. I don't mind cracking the spine. I know some people hate cracking the spine. I don't mind it. Yes, so another part of this video is I really just want you guys to encourage me to read any of these books. If you love any of these books, tell me that I need to read it, because then I will. So that's how that works. I just need a little bit of encouragement, so that's why I'm making this video. The next book is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke, another female author, fantastic. This is a fantasy book, which I'm not really a big fantasy reader, but one of my friends, Claire Fenby on YouTube, she is the sweetest. I love all of her videos. This is one of her favorite books, and every time I hear her talk about it, I just want to read it. And so I picked it up a few months ago, and I believe it's about magicians in York, England, and that's all that I really know about it, and I don't want to know too much. And I feel like magicians in England, that's just kind of like, I don't know. It feels like I will really enjoy it, and that's kind of like my perfect setting. So yes. Again, huge. Let's see how many pages it is. This is, oh, does it have illustrations? I thought I just saw an illustration. Oh my god, it does! That's incredible! I didn't know it had illustrations. That's amazing! Okay, this one is 846 pages. Yeah, that's That's large, but again, very floppy, amazing. That's what I love about big books, is they're usually really floppy, and that makes the whole experience so much better, especially if they're paperbacks. I do feel like big hardbacks can be kind of clunky. Then the next book I have had for years, and that is Leon Uris's Trinity. And I picked up this book because of one of my old coworkers at a bookstore. She was telling me that this is one of her favorite books. She was Irish. This is an Irish epic historical fiction book that she says is the most impactful book that she's ever read, and she was just talking so highly about it that it really made me want to pick it up. So I picked it up. It says, told through the lives of its people, this is an epic history of Ireland. From the famine of the 1840s to the 1916 Easter Rising, Trinity chronicles the terrible and beautiful drama of more than half a century. That sounds amazing. I am very interested in all different areas of history, and I really love European history very much, and so I don't know too much about Irish history, and I would like to change that. So this sounds like I'm going to love it. It is how many pages? 886. But I'm hoping once I start all these books, I'm not going to want them to end. Fingers crossed that is what happens. The next book I'm not going to be getting to for a while because I want to read this author's works in chronological order, and this is one of their last books, if not their last book. I should know that, but I don't. Everyone tells me that I need to read it. I will read it. I just want to read his other books in chronological order because I feel like reading his works and seeing how he develops is going to make the impact of this book even greater. That is The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky. Everyone tells me to read this book. I will. I promise I will. I just really want to read Fyodor Dostoevsky in chronological order because I feel like he changed and developed so much with what happened in his life to how he wrote, and I love learning about the chronology of his life and the events of his life, as well as how you can see those things affect his journey and his writing. So The Brothers Karamazov is probably, besides Crime and Punishment, one of the most popular Fyodor Dostoevsky books, and as a Russian lit nerd, I want to read it so badly. All I know is that it is about the Karamazov brothers, these sons and their father, and it's religious, it's battling what's moral and ethical, and I think there is some crime in here, maybe some death, typical Dostoevsky themes. I love this edition. It is just so beautiful. It's the Penguin Black Spine. This is 900 pages. 985 pages. Yes, so I am going to read it, probably not soon, but I am going to read it, I promise. I promise. Then the next one is another one that I already filmed one of these videos ages ago. I don't even know if it's still on my channel, but it was like the biggest books on my TBR, and this book was on that list 2 years ago. It's still on this list. My very good friend Sarah and my other very good friend Kiara just buddy read this book. They're going to yell at me. I give you guys full permission to yell at me to read this book. That's The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. It's so big. Oh God, it's just massive. It's just so many pages. But I hope I won't want it to end. This is the great revenge story. That's all that I know. And I don't want to know anything else. Yes. It's just so huge. I'm just terrified. It's 1,243 pages. Great. Not scary at all. Not scary at all. Yeah, I feel like I'm going to love it. I'm just terrified because it's so big. But I need to take my own advice, read other things alongside it, maybe listen to the audiobook at times, give myself page goals, take it one chapter at a time. I don't know. I want to read it. I'm just scared. And that's it. And that's it. The very last book, the 10th book on this list, the biggest book on my TBR, is thanks to my friend Sam because he gifted it to me. And that is Quiet Flows the Dawn by Mikhail Sholokhov. This is a massive Russian classic, and I don't know too much about it. Every time I talk about Russian lit, at least one person mentions this book, as well as the Brothers Karamazov. I want to read it because I know it's a Russian epic and so many people love it. But it's just huge and terrifying. Let's see how many pages it is. 1,335. 1,335. I think that's longer than War and Peace. Oh my god. Yeah, so this is the biggest book on my TBR. I do want to read it. Am I scared to? Yes, you guessed it, because that's what this whole video is about. Have you read it? If you have, please encourage me. Please give me good thoughts. Please, yes, make me excited to read it, because right now, every time I look at it, I am just scared. You drop this and it'll break your foot. It could keep a door opened. It's pretty much a brick. You could build a house with this book. Anyway, I'm just scared. So this is the longest book on my TBR. That is all of them. They're going to fall over. Am I wrong to be scared of that? Maybe I am. Maybe I'm just chicken. But again, I want to take my own advice. I want to read these books. I want to feel accomplished. I feel like this year I've been going in and out of a bunch of reading slumps that I kind of just want to feel like I read a really big book. I accomplished a goal. I would love to read one of these. I'm leaning the most towards East of Eden. So I feel like my goal is to read East of Eden soon. But any of the, I want to read all of them. I just don't know when, and I just don't know when I will have the courage. So yes, give me suggestions. Have you read any of these? Which ones do you think I should prioritize? What big books are on your TBR? I would love to know. Because then if you have read any books, or if you want to read any big books that I have read, I can encourage you. You can encourage me. We can be there for each other and help each other and face our big book fears. As I tried telling you how I face my big book fears in my previous video. But again, obviously big book fear is not a one and done kind of thing. Like you read one big book and you feel like, oh, I can do this. Big books aren't that scary. And then you look at a pile of big books and you're just ready to crawl under your bed and cry. That's how I feel. So anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I, again, would love to know what big books are on your TBR, if I should read any of these, your thoughts on reading big books. If you missed that previous video, I will link it, and I hope you're having a fantastic day, reading some amazing big or small books, and let's hope that Carolyn, maybe a year from now, has read one or two or more of these books. So anyway, I will see you soon in another video. Happy reading!